Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Tristan Rallings, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Colonel Frank Colley. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. If you are able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of the more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths of floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Jack Harold Abnett. Jack Abnett was born on the 5th of August 1916, the son of William and Elizabeth Abnett of Orange, New South Wales. He grew up in Orange, probably attended the local state school, and went on to work as an orchardist. Abnett joined the local militia unit in January 1939, around 9 months before the advent of the Second World War. After parading part-time with the 20th 54th Battalion, he was called up for full-time duty on the 1st of October 1941. By then, the 20th and 54th Battalions had been delinked, and Abnett was transferred to the 54th Battalion, known as the Lachlan Macquarie Regiment. As the 54th Battalion was a militia unit and not part of the volunteer 2nd Australian Imperial Force, it was not able to be sent overseas to fight. In 1943, the battalion was gazetted as an AIF unit, which meant that it could be sent outside the Southwest Pacific area. However, the battalion remained in Australia, undertaking garrison duties in New South Wales and Western Australia in order to defend against a possible invasion. As the invasion never occurred, the battalion was disbanded in January 1944. By this point, Abnett, who had been promoted to corporal, had enlisted in the AIF while on garrison duty in Western Australia, doing so on the 3rd of November 1942. After extended leave in August and September 1943, Abnett returned to duty. He reverted to the rank of private as punishment for an episode of drunkenness in early November, and by January 1944 was on his way to Queensland. With the 54th Battalion disbanded, Private Abnett transferred to the 2nd 4th Battalion in July. The battalion had been training in northern Queensland in anticipation of fighting the Japanese in the Pacific. After being detached to work in an officers' club for a short period in August, on the 14th of October 1944, he embarked at Cairns on the American troop ship Mexico, bound for the fighting in New Guinea. The 2nd 4th landed at New Guinea in early November 1944. Advancing along the coast, the men were involved in fighting around Matapau in late December 1944, and then around Abao and Meilin in early January 1945. The operations mostly involved small-scale patrolling and small-scale company-level attacks. American forces, previously operating in New Guinea, had believed that the Japanese base at Wewak to be cut off, no longer of any real threat or particular strategic importance, and bypassed it. With Australians having taken over and intelligence that the Japanese were retreating, the 2nd 4th Battalion attacked on the morning of the 10th of May. After an artillery barrage, troops, supported by a troop of Matilda tanks from the 2nd 4th Armoured Regiment, advanced onto Wewak Point just after 6 a.m. The battle proceeded bunker by bunker. The Japanese strong points were located in deep caves and had to be dealt with by tanks or flamethrowers, and some only fell at the point of a bayonet. Despite being weakened, the Japanese put up a stiff resistance, resulting in brutal fighting. Jack Abnett was admitted to a field ambulance with a gunshot wound to the abdomen on the 10th of May, 1945. His wounds proved to be mortal, and he died the following day. He was 28 years old. His remains were buried in the field near where he fell, but were later reburied in the Leigh War Cemetery, where they lay today under the inscription chosen by his grieving family. Jack, dearly loved and missed by parents, brothers and sisters. His name is listed today on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Jack Harold Abnett, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.